send this to you. This is from Congressional Sportsman. Yeah, and we'll talk about this a little bit because I believe this got signed. It was passed by both chambers, so it will be signed if it's not been signed already. So on Tuesday, February 27, 2024, in a near party-line vote, the Washington State Senate passed engrossed substitute House Bill 2118, an act relating to protecting public from gun violence by establishing additional requirements for the business operations of licensed firearm dealers. Excuse me. Notice what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Relating to protecting the public from gun violence by establishing additional requirements for the business operations of licensed firearm dealers. They're doing this
regulation
to protect you from gun violence.
Yes.
That's the point of this bill.
Because we're going to regulate the dealers.
That's the point of this bill, is to combat gun violence, right? So
Yes.
remember that as we discuss the rest of these details. The point of this is gun violence.
Gun violence.
Okay?
Protecting the public from gun violence.
Correct. Under the guise of public safety and preventing thefts from firearm dealers, this bill will place extreme requirements on those businesses. The restrictions will do little to prevent gun thefts in the state, as most firearms reported stolen or taken from private citizens, with only 3% reported thefts occurring at licensed businesses. So that means 97% of the guns that are stolen in Washington state come from private individuals, not from businesses who are FFLs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that means,
Yep.
right? So we are going to place these additional requirements on businesses when only 3% of the guns that are stolen in this state come from those businesses. That's why these are required. That's why they're necessary.
Okay. Carry on. Yeah, I'm following.
Yes. These restrictions are so extreme that even the Seattle Times, known for their support of gun control, calls them onerous and likely to, quote, open even wider the black market for gun sales. This bill will force dealers to choose between expensive security upgrades to comply or shuttering their businesses altogether. Based on industry testimony, the estimated cost for upgrades and retrofits will range between $250,000 and $700,000, depending on location, just to become compliant. These figures do not include new annual insurance and data storage costs. The new requirements listed in the bill include: during business hours, except when being shown to a customer or repaired, firearms must be displayed in a manner that entirely prevents access by a member of the public, which may include storage in locked container or display case. That means you can't have things on the wall anymore.
Yep.
No longer can you display guns on the wall. They all need to be in a case so that no one can grab them under any circumstances at all.
Yes.
Right?
And I would imagine they all have to be made of thick plexiglass or something like
I would
that,
imagine.
so that you can't smash
With a
them.
lock on it, yep, I would
Yep.
imagine. Outside of business hours, all firearms shall be secured on the dealer's business premises in a locked, fireproof safe or vault. I'm sure there's splits among the gun people who own gun stores, whether or not you should be doing that anyway, you know?
Yeah.
But also, if you have, fucking 700 guns in your store,
Yeah,
you
dude.
need to put them all in a fucking safe every single day. And I understand the argument either way. That's
Indeed.
really what I'm getting at. I'm not arguing. I don't fucking own a gun store. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Permanently, a fixed audio and video recording system must be operational 24 hours a day, with the video recording stored for 45 to 90 days, depending on location. Recordings must be available upon request to any person through a court order pursuant to search warrant, insurance claim, or civil discovery process. All licensed dealers must carry a general liability insurance policy providing at least $1 million of coverage per incident. Failure to meet the above and other provisions in this proposed law could result in a Class C felony and revocation of the dealer's license. The largest impact of the pricey legislation will be felt by smaller local businesses along with home-based custom gun builders and repair shops. Because if you don't know, you can have an FFL, which is a federal firearms license, and you can just operate at your house. Like there are people who they will just like order guns for their friends and they'll do the background check because you have the ability to then file everything with the state, that you can just have those things sent to your house to sell them to help your friends buy them. Like this is a thing that you can do. You can work on guns at your house. There's a guy, Red Bear Stippling, right? Who his whole job is just to stipple guns. He just puts texturing on guns. Yep. So if you're going to send him your pistol, the lower of it is what has this, like it has a serial number on it. So you have to, in order to send that to him, he has to be able to receive that item from you in the mail legally. He has to have an FFL to be able to get that item from you. The gun doesn't work. It's just the bottom part, just for you to be able to hold it and to make the texture better. But he has to have an FFL to get that item.
Because it's the serialized item.
Precisely. If you're going to Cerakote things, if you're just going to color them, right? You're not ever going to put a bullet in them ever. My gun or my job is just to change the color on a gun. You have to have the FFL because you're receiving those parts to your shop. So there's any number of things, not just selling guns to the public, that you could have an FFL for. It also, like for a long, I don't know if it still does, for a long period of time, it lowered just your wait times for buying guns and stuff like that. It just made because there's a higher threshold of legal requirement to be an FFL, like fingerprinting and like that type of stuff, a more extreme background check. So there's less question about whether or not you can own a gun if you're an FFL, because well,
Indeed.
of course you can. You're with the feds now. That's
Yeah.
take it. It doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
You can own automatic weapons like that if you want to own an old school machine gun, that you have to have an FFL. So that's even if you don't ever want to sell anything or get anything from anybody else, you still have to have an FFL to be able to purchase that item.
Oh yeah, that's what old buddy Matty Neal. He got his FFL back in the day because he wanted to collect like old school rifles from World War II, World War I, and stuff like that. And so he got this special FFLs just so that it would be cheaper and easier for him to be able to do those collections, like that. And and then he's like, oh yeah, and I mean too, if you want one of those too, you can buy them off me because I can run your background check, I can do the things.
There's a gang of reasons to get your FFL, not just to own a gun store.
Indeed.
That's also important to remember when we're talking about all this. So this is not just, you know, fucking having shit at your house. Like there's no telling how these things will extend to people's homes if their business, quote unquote, is just private sales. You know, if their business is just Cerakoting things, like there's no telling how this is going to affect these people. Yeah.
I mean, because there's so many different reasons to have an FFL. This particular legislation is designed to regulate the gun store, the small gun store, not the large ones, because they're not going to care about this.
Right.
But it's the what's it, Benson's or whatever down in Gorst. That's for them. It's because people showed up one day and hooked up a big ass truck to their security door and just ripped it the fuck off. And then, you know, there's only so much you could do. At this point, you're gonna like over, you know, 250,000 to over 700,000. I mean, I feel like that seems pretty low, to be honest, because if you have to turn your entire store into fucking Fort Knox and you have to have a giant fucking vault to keep all of your guns in there because you're not just going to carry a dozen, you're going to have a shit ton out of them.
Right.
And then you have to pay all your extra staff for all those extra hours to be able to, it takes time to put them away, to bring them out. There's so much more cost associated with this. This would just kill most small gun stores. Yes, yeah. And the state is already extremely unfriendly to do business in. I can tell you guys that my fucking self, as we're starting a bakery, it's extremely unfriendly to do business here. It's very, very difficult to try and start a very simple business. Yeah, they don't like the backbone of America's small business. So it's just another set of hurdles for people who are trying to start a small business. That these are things you now have to have if you want to do something at your house. Like, what's the guy at a fucking Seebeck? What's that guy's name that I bought my guns from? Palmer's, right? Yep. That gets out of his garage in the back of his house. Yep. I know. Yeah, it's pretty fucking secure. You know, the guy's got cameras everywhere. It's behind his house. You'd have to go past his house to get in. Like, it's pretty secure. It's pretty fucking secure. Yep. You know, this guy now has to rebuild his fucking garage to accommodate for all these things that are going in there because it's the best gun store in the whole area. And now just to continue to operate, the guys, they're open 3 days a week for like 4 hours a day, and it's packed every fucking time. Yep. It's a fantastic gun store. It's an incredible gun store. Yeah, and the reality is, if this were to actually, when this gets signed and implemented, goodbye, Palmer's. And it might not be worth the investment on his end to continue to do that, you know? Yeah, it's cost prohibitive, man. Right. It only allows for the big boys that already have a shit ton of capital just sitting around. You think an average mom and pop gun store, I mean, you've been into them. They're not fancy. They're not rolling in fucking dough. They're not driving fucking Bentleys to their gun store to work, you know? I mean, there's got to be... You know, there's got to be some pretty tight margins there. And there are like levels of gun stores, right? There's going to be a gun store like a Palmer's. That's or fucking Borner's. It's Borner's. That's what it's called in Gorst. That's like a very, very entry level. You know, it's very simple to walk into. It's like a little bit nicer store, like Tank Works, right? The environment's a little bit nicer. The store's a little bit nicer. There's also like gun stores that have like indoor ranges and you can rent guns. There's levels of gun stores, right? But to me, like a bill like this smacks of just the insinuation that gun stores don't care whether or not their items get stolen. You know, you've just been acting flagrantly this entire time. Even though only 3% of guns that go missing in the state come from gun stores, you guys are the ones that are fucking up, right? Yeah. You are the problem here, even though only 3%, right? We've already passed law 1639 so that there are additional punishments if someone has a gun stolen from their home and then a crime is committed with it, right? People aren't locking their shit up. They're still having their guns fucking stolen from them. 97% of them. We did this extra bill to make sure you're doing safe storage, and still they're having guns stolen out of their house, right? So now we need to turn to the only other aspect that is only 3% of the issue, and we need to overregulate them. But also, what this also does is make it so that people will have a harder time getting guns, because there'll be less stores that'll do that.
Totally.
And a lot of the big corporate gun stores, like back when you could buy guns at Dick's or Walmart or something like that.
Yeah.
As soon as certain items got too hot, they quit carrying all that shit. And so now you're limited in what you can also find as well. It's just it's another step to protect the public from purchasing firearms. Is what it is. That's really what that is. They instituted the laws, and they're realizing that their desire for control was not achieved, and so they have to continue to try to maintain as much control over the industry as humanly possible. 100%. And this is their next step to do 100%. That. 100%.
And this might be, let me throw this out, just see how it feels. Right, this might be a little bit nitpicky, but the intense requirements for the audio and video. Right, let me explain this. It is not a business owner's job to solve crimes. Right? No. It is not my job to ensure that there is evidence for you to solve a crime every time something happens. It's, of course, that would be ideal. Of course. And I'm not saying we should be abdicating responsibility, whatever. If it's your business, you should be doing everything you can to ensure that you're not a victim of crime. Right? Indeed. If you are a victim of crime, it is not your job to ensure that all of the evidence is there for the police to collect for them to catch that person. Check. That's your job. You're the fucking cops. It is not up to me to make sure that you can do your job at the end of the day. That's not my job. It is not it's not incumbent upon me to make sure that you can do your job. Indeed. That's ideal. That would be helpful. That's not my responsibility. So this whole deal of we need to make sure that you can, everywhere in your store is video recorded, and it's recorded for 90 fucking days, and that we can get it any time. Why? This is not my responsibility. No. Do your fucking job. Make sure that people aren't, stealing fucking guns from gun stores, you dumb piece of shit, right?
That might be the way to do it.
The last point to me for all this, right? The final most important point, the bill aims to bring down the increasing rates of gun violence in the state, which is a direct result of the policies and enforcement of state laws. Yes. You have done this. You, as the government, have created this environment in which crime is allowed to run rampant, in which we are the #1 state for automotive theft, for personal theft. The #1 state. We're in fucking Washington, you dumb fucks. What is going on? This is not New York City. We are not living in giant cities of multiple millions of people. Seattle has like 7 people in it. Compared to other large cities, it's very small. It's not a giant city compared to the other big cities in America. It's really not. Why are we then one of the most crime-ridden states in the country? Because of your backwards, fucked up policies that we are now forced to live under. Yep. Now you have done this. You have contrived, because I don't think it was an accident. You have contrived the situation. You have created this with malice, right? We are now forced to live under it. The one person you can blame other than yourself is the 3% of the problem, the gun stores. Now it's your problem. Instead of, I don't know, maybe admitting that you fucked up and, I don't know, maybe putting people in jail. No, I'm not, listen, it doesn't even matter. I'm not going to fucking defend it. I'm not going to defend it. That is the point. The point is the point, right? Instead of doing what your job is under the parameters of the current government, the current structure of our society, put people in jail who do bad shit. Don't let them out. You're committing crimes. You're stealing shit. You live in here now. This is where you get to stay. That's what we do with people here. We can argue all day about whether or not we should be jails, blah, 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 right? Yeah. That's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about current societal structure. Do your fucking job. This is not my problem. You have created this environment. It is not my problem to fix this for you.
No. And that's, I'm more black-pilled on the whole thing, because I don't see this as they are trying to fix this problem. I think they're just they are and continue to try to just make it worse. Totally. So that they have more of an excuse to once again just grasp more and more control. Especially scared people love to have their freedom taken away.
I just mean with the direction of the bill. This is what we can do now. This is what will solve the problem. Instead of admitting that you fucked up and that all of this is for naught because it's continued to get worse. Yep. And now we'll pass another law because they've all worked so well in the past. Where they said 1639 had safe storage in it that had personal requirements for buying firearms. So you had to know about safe storage, right? All these things are required. It made increased penalties for if you do have a gun stolen from you and it's then used in a crime. This has not stopped the gun thefts. It has not stopped people from keeping them in their house. It has not stopped people from leaving them in their car, right? I'm not judging anybody for doing whatever you want. It's your fucking gun. Do what you want with it. I don't care if you don't care about it, right? That's not my problem.
But still,
this law didn't fucking work. The laws don't work. You can't control how people conduct themselves.
Indeed.
You cannot. So now that The only other thing they can do is blame the businesses. It's completely fucking backwards.
Yep.
It's not. This is not to solve gun violence. It's to make it harder for people. 100%. Absolutely. That's I don't at all want anyone to think that this is me thinking they're actually trying to solve a problem. That's not at all the point. No, it is wholly backwards. It is disgustingly distorted. This is how they're doing it. It's in this one article. 3% of gun thefts come from gun stores, and we need to now double your security because that's the problem, right? Not that we had to go to Snapchat to catch 3 17-year-olds who stole 90 guns from Borners, because that's what they got caught with Snapchat. They're selling on Snapchat. That's how you got caught, right? That's how we caught you with social media.
Yep.
Genius.
Well, yeah, because also
fucking banging detective work, you dumb fucks.
the reason we saw the videos, the security cam footage from when it happened, and the only reason they were able to find him is because they fucked up on Snapchat or selling shit on Snapchat. He had all the things, mind you, maybe not a fucking vault to put all the guns in at the end of the day, but again, that's you as a business owner have the right to run your business however you feel is necessary.
Yes.
And there's only so much you can do at one time, given your cash flow and your capital that you have. And you just kind of operate with the assumption that, generally speaking, we do have police and law enforcement, and their job is to more or less maintain the safety of our neighborhoods and all that.
It's supposed to be.
But at that point, like, law enforcement doesn't exist anymore. Why?
Right.
We have to do it all ourselves.
Right.
Because the state's going to tell us to.
If
the state can't take care of us, apparently. They can't do their fucking job.
If you've not created an environment in your business where it is a perfect environment where all data and all evidence can be procured, we can't do our job.
Yep.
What the fuck are you talking about? Exactly. What are you saying to me?
Dust for some fucking prints, bro. What are we doing?
Yeah, so it's, like I said, I'm pretty sure this already got signed. If it hasn't already been signed, it will be signed because it's been passed through the House and the Senate. So it's just a matter of time if it has not already been signed. I will be interested to see the way that this will affect our environment as gun owners, as people who are attempting to procure more firearms. As you've said,
I'll be very interested in the legal battles that are about to be
Yeah,
there we go.
The items and weapons that we can procure at this time are limited anyway because of the other laws that don't work in this state that have already been passed here. People are continuing to steal firearms and continuing to commit crimes with firearms that have been stolen that have more than 10 rounds magazines. The really funny thing is that most of these guns have like 7 rounds of various ammunition, just like loose ammo, because for some reason they can't get their hands on a box of ammunition somewhere. So it's like a bunch of random bullets. You have a full-size magazine of 15 rounds, but it's only half loaded because you're a felon and you can't buy ammo. Oh, yeah. So you can't go and purchase it in a store. So you have to just get bullets from somebody else who, it's probably just one of your friends who's like, I'll give you one. Yeah. So you have a full-size magazine, which is illegal, right? It's supposed to be illegal. Only half full. Would have fit in a 10-round magazine, but you have a full-size one, which is illegal. What are we doing here? It's a fucking clown world. This state is a fucking joke.
Yeah, it's a fucking goat show, dude. It is the stupidest. That's why, I only leads toward malice and control. Because if you were a logical person that was like, okay, yeah, these will work, I don't know how you get there. No. There's no way to follow a path of logic to end in this ends gun violence. No, it doesn't in any way possible, shape, or fucking form.
I hated guns about 10 seconds ago. If I can explain to you how this doesn't work, it's not that difficult. Exactly. It's really not. Because in the time that I've liked guns, I've seen it not work. It's only been 4 years, and I've seen it not work. I told you to vote for one, and I'm now telling you, this is the 3rd time I've seen it not work. Yeah. This one law, I've seen it not work 3 different times. This is nonsense. It's
fucking ridiculous.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. The iron grip of tyranny continues to tighten. Yeah. That's really all it is. Yeah. Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready.